Hey, how's it going, guys? Azanay back out with another video. In this video I want to do a $1,500 massive 4K PC build. This can probably max out any games at 4K, getting 30 to 50 frames per second. But those who not have a 4K monitor, you can still play in 2K or at 1080p, getting well above 100 frames per second in most of the case. So without any further ado, we'll get straight into it. So before that, I just want to say the total budget for this build was $104.80. But if you do all the promo codes and the mail-in rebates, you can get this for $104.52. So there's not a big difference. So without any promo code or the mail-in rebate, you can get this for $104.80. Now without any further ado, let's get straight into it with the CPU. For the CPU, I chose the Intel Core i7-6700K 4.0 GHz quad-core processor. This processor is for $359, but there's also a $15 promo code, which I'll leave in the below, which reduces it down to $345. Now, this is a massive quad-core processor. It also has hyper-threading, so it effectively makes an 8-core CPU for the operating system. Well, this is just a monster even at gaming and even at video editing, live streaming and rendering. You can do anything with the CPU if you just pair it with a good GPU. You can max out any games at 1080p. Well, it should be a good GPU, which not only depends upon the processor, but this processor can probably max out. Now, most of you have been asking, why is, even if it is a $1,500 gaming PC build, why not add a 5930X? Well, that's too overkill CPU for this budget. Even I can add that kind of CPU in this budget, but it's not for $1,500. It's not just worth it for $1,500. We can do it if it was a $3,000 or $2,500 budget, but this i7-6700K is more than enough for new generation gaming. Now, if you want to overclock it, even it's already overclocked at 4.0 GHz, if you just want to overclock to, let's say, 4.5 or 4.6, the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo will do the thing. It's for $34, but you do have $20 mini rebate, knocking it out to $24. Now, for the motherboard, I went in the ASRock Z1708-X1 ATX LG1151 motherboard for $92. This motherboard is just for $92. Now, you might be thinking it's a $1,500 gaming PC build. Why didn't I go with the MSI Z17X SLI, or all those high-end motherboards ranging from $200 to $300, but it was not needed. A motherboard doesn't depend upon that much on gaming. If you have all the things you need, the motherboard, the lowest one, is much better. This got everything you need. It allows 64 gigs of DDR4 running at 3200 MHz. It also has 636 ports and also onboard USB 3 headers. It also has crossfire support but no SLI support. As you know, I'm not that SLI fan. Let's say if you have an R9 390 and if you wanna, let's say you have a GTX 960 and you wanna do an SLI. Let's say you sell the GTX 960 for $210 and you add that $210, which you had to buy an SLI, so that makes $420. You can buy GTX 980 with that and get a similar performance. I'm that kind of fan. I'm not that kind of guy who likes SLI or crossfire support. So this does not have an SLI support, but this is more than what you need. Now for the memory, I went the G.Skill Ripjaws V Series 8GB 24GB 6 running at DDR for 2400 MHz. 8 GB of RAM is a monster in gaming. Well, you won't find that much difference when you consider the speed, 2400 MHz and 1600 MHz, but this is a DDR4 RAM. You will see the difference only at video editing, live streaming and rendering. That really depends upon the RAM, but in gaming 8 GB is more than enough. Now there are some games that do recommend 16 gigs of RAM, for example the Star Wars Battlefront, but that's not needed. I personally have 8 GB of RAM and I ran that game really well. There is also some guys who have 16 GB of RAM, but there's not that difference between 16 GB of RAM and 8 GB of RAM. I don't know why they recommend that. Now for the storage, for the mechanical drive on the Seagate Barracuda 2TB 3.5 in 7200 RPM internal hard drive for $65. This is a 2TB mass storage where you can keep all your videos, your games. As you know, the games nowadays are very big. For the Grand Theft Auto 5, it's like 60 gigs. The Quantum Break was also 60 gigs. And the Just Cause 3 was 50 to 60 gigs. And the Assassin's Creed Syndicate was 30 gigs. Well, most of the games are too huge these days, so 1 TB is also enough, but 2 TB is more than enough. If you want, there's also an SSD in this. You can compensate the money in that and get another hard drive, make it 4 TB. For the SSD, I went the ADATA SP550 480 gigs 2.5 in solid state drive for $108. 480 gigs, you get this where you all keep your applications and some of the games like the Battlefield Hardline and other games which can boot up things very fast. You keep an OS in this, and boot up in a millisecond, and all SSDs boot up things very fast. You can keep also your video editing software in that, and you can boot up things very fast. Now for the heart of the build, I have the graphics card, the Gigabyte WINDFORCE GTX 980 Ti for $600. This is an overkill graphics card. I do not recommend most of the times this graphic card when it is below $1,000, because this is just a graphics card for high-end gamers who only game at 4K, who wants almost performance and quality and get really good frame rates and really good settings. This graphics card is the best one, and for $600 you can get an R9 390X, but still the 980 Ti is better, and the budget is $1,500. So 980 Ti and 6700K is more than enough. You can max out any games at 4K, getting 30 to 50 frames per second, and that's guaranteed. Now for the case, I want the NZXT S340 wide mid-tower ATX case for $64. You really can't go wrong with this kind of awesome looking case. This is just a freaking good looking case with an open window, so you can show off your rig, especially this 980 Ti. It's a wonderful case. Now for the power supply, on the EVGA 850 watt 80 plus GONE certified power supply for $120. You do need an 850 watt power supply, because at idle this takes about 400 to 450 watt. That's actually huge. But as you know, this Maxwell architecture, the 980 Ti and the Skylake architecture, the 6700K is really power efficient. So at idle also it takes about 700 to 750 watt. Don't be afraid that at idle it takes 450. So if it load 450 twice, will be something like 900, but don't be aware of that. 6700K and the 980 Ti, Skylake and Maxwell represent respectively. They're really power efficient, so don't worry about the power supply. So anyway guys, this build is a massive 4K build. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. Definitely be sure to subscribe and like the video, and definitely be sure to dislike if you don't like it. Anyway guys, I'll catch you guys next one. Peace out.